Do you want to know the difference between a multi-million dollar generating keyword strategy and an amateur one that doesn't get you the results that you want? The difference is unlikely very large. In fact, I bet you have the skills right now to take your keyword strategy to the next level with a few easy changes. And lucky for you, we're going to be diving into exactly that right now in this video. Now, for a little bit of context, my name is Emma Shermer-Tamir. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Marketing by Emma, and I have been helping businesses find success on Amazon since 2016. The fact of the matter is that you must do effective keyword research if you want to succeed on Amazon. And in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you the strategy that we've used to help over 2,000 brands find success online. So in today's video, we're going to be covering our 4-step framework that we use to evaluate and identify winning keywords that are going to help you drive more, better, higher converting traffic to rank on page 1 and to grow your Amazon business to new heights. But before we get into the steps that you must take in order to achieve that kind of success, we need the right tools. And for this, we use 2 tools. You might be asking, Emma, 1 tool isn't enough? Frankly, no. I hate to break it to you, but all of the tools have their pros and cons. And after testing all of the tools out there, we found a combination of tools that works really well to make sure that we have covered all of our bases and identified any potential opportunity. We don't want to leave one really high value keyword just undetected because we didn't do that extra step. So our 2 tools that we really like to use are Data Dive and Helium 10. When combined together, they help us get that comprehensive research that we need to help clients succeed. Even though they're 2 separate companies, they are better together, and I really like using them in conjunction because they each do separate things really, really well. By the way, if you would like to sign up for either of those, I do have discount codes and links down below. Now, please note those are affiliate links, which means that I do make a small commission if you choose to sign up. But the good news is that commission helps me create more content for you. So I would say it's winning all around. So as I mentioned, we have 4 steps that we need to follow. So step 1 in the framework is relevancy. Now, relevancy is one of those things where it is so tempting to want to convince yourself that words are relevant when they may not be. This can definitely be a situation like, I don't know if you've seen the movie Aladdin, but Aladdin is in that cave and he's strictly instructed, don't touch anything. And then he starts salivating because it all just is so overwhelmingly glorious and magnificent. And then that essentially obviously carries forward the rest of the plot of the story. I imagine that you probably all know where that's going, but hopefully you're able to recall back to that movie and you know what I'm talking about. And why I say this is because relevancy in particular is one of those situations where you're going to see keywords and then you are going to start to tell yourself stories about why a keyword may be relevant when it in fact isn't. So when we're talking about relevancy, what we are looking for are those phrases that a customer would type into a search engine and hope to find a product like yours. In other words, if you are selling a sleeping bag for toddlers for very cold weather, if you are finding a sleeping bag for XXL super tall adults in the summertime, those keywords may have thousands and thousands and thousands of searches, but somebody searching for that type of product is never going to want a toddler. Well, I shouldn't say never. Somebody searching for a sleeping bag that's for a very tall person is unlikely to want a sleeping bag for a toddler, especially if they are looking for different types of climates. Now, of course, it's possible that that super tall person also has a child and may see that, but that's a long shot. So when we're thinking about relevancy, we're really wanting to find what are those keywords that are ultra specific in describing our product or a facet of our product. So some of those are going to be very straightforward. It's just going to be the thing with modifiers. So microphone for podcasting, portable microphone for podcasting. So words like that. Now, at the same time, you also are going to find that there are keywords that are more focused on the function of the product. So recording equipment for mobile podcasting, or camping gear for toddlers, if we're referring back to that previous example. So it's not directly referring to the item itself, but it would still be within the range of items that somebody would be looking for. And then sometimes it may go all the way to the extreme of they don't even know exactly what that product would be. So they might be describing it in some way, or they may be looking for something to give to somebody else. So, gift for parents of toddlers who like the outdoors. Obviously, that's incredibly specific, but anyway, you get my point. So relevancy is very, very important. You want to filter everything through that. Essentially, this framework is all about using different filters to really hone in on what those high opportunity keywords are. Now, before we go into the rest of the framework, I think it bears mentioning to have a short conversation around the way that search is changing when it comes to the integration of AI in Amazon itself. So we have Rufus, which is the shopping assistant and AI chatbot on the Amazon platform that customers can use to identify products. And there's a debate about whether keywords are really even important at all. The fact of the matter is that as of right now, they are still important because they are still factoring into helping identify what your product is. And if nothing else, then they are giving you insight into language that customers are using to be able to find items like yours. So even if it's not direct copy and paste of that keyword is in exactly this placement, but it's understanding these are the types of things that people are searching when they want to buy my product. We should probably be referencing those things. If you're not including them, then you're not even giving the AI the full ability to truly understand comprehensively your item. So there's this talk that SEO is changing considerably because now you don't have to be shoving all of these keywords in. And I hate to break it to you, but that's not new. You shouldn't have been keyword stuffing before, and you definitely shouldn't be keyword stuffing now. SEO and the way that the Amazon algorithm works is far more sophisticated than just whether or not the presence of a particular keyword is there. And so I realize that right now we're talking about identifying the keywords, but obviously that next stage is how to implement and integrate those keywords. And that's where we really want to be mindful of always putting the customer first. And you see that we're talking about that customer experience and those customer expectations and needs right here at this stage too. It's not that the keywords are disconnected. Those keywords are your connective string to beginning this journey with the customers, assuming that they haven't already been thinking about you from some other marketing efforts or advertising efforts that you've been doing. But if they are really truly just searching for a product or a solution that's like yours and they don't have a lot of pre-existing knowledge or experience, then this is that entry point. And so you really want to be clear about what are they looking for? How are they searching? What are they searching? So just to keep that in mind as we continue through the rest of this framework. Now, step 2 is buying intent. This becomes a little bit trickier because this is something that is not tangible. You can't necessarily say, oh, well, this is high buying intent always in this situation and this isn't. Now, both Data Dive and Helium 10 do give you insights on the keywords that are driving more sales than others for your competitors, but there's not always a direct correlation to that. Maybe they're driving more sales on a particular keyword for some other reason, or maybe that's not necessarily related to you. But one of the ways that you can identify higher buying intent, even without those specific details about how many sales it's driving, is the more specific the keyword is, or as in the lingo of SEO, longer tail keywords. So essentially short keywords are just 1 or 2 words, but a longer tail or long tail keyword could be 5, 6, 7. It's just more words in the phrase. So the longer that's going to be, there's probably going to be fewer searches, but they are going to be ultra specific to somebody that is looking to buy a product because they know exactly what they want. So if I'm just looking for something really broad, like a microphone, and this, it ties very closely to relevancy, but we're looking at it through a different angle now. And this is a really important distinction and differentiation to be thinking about. So if you are searching for microphone and you are thinking about, okay, what are all of the types of microphones that somebody could buy? Maybe they want a karaoke microphone. Maybe they want a podcasting microphone. Maybe they want a little lavalier microphone that they're going to be using to create TikTok videos. Maybe they want a microphone for hosting events and the speakers on the stage. So those are just off the top of my head, a few different types of microphones that somebody might want. And each one of those, they could want to see all of the other varieties, but you're unlikely to be able to drive as many sales on a more general category type of keyword than you are if it's something that is ultra specific. So it could be iPhone 16 compatible wireless lavalier microphone for short form content. I have no clue whether somebody's actually searching that or not, but somebody that is searching for that microphone, they know what they want, they know what they need, and they are looking for a solution today. They're not going window shopping. They're not thinking about, oh, maybe I'll get this one day. They have a problem and they want to solve it. And so the more specific it's going to be, the higher likelihood that that customer is in that stage of ready to buy. And so that's what we mean by buying intent in that stage 2. Now, stage 3 is competition. And this you will be able to see both with Helium 10 and with Data Dive when you are doing your searches. And you want to be thinking about it a little bit as a ratio, because if you're just having strict numbers, it's not always going to be a direct correlation. So, for example, if you were to have 10,000 competitors for a term that only has 500 searches, that's going to be a hyper competitive keyword that is going to be very difficult to gain any kind of traction on. And you probably don't really want to, because there aren't even that many searches to begin with. And so what you're really looking for is one that there is a big gap between how many searches there are and how many competitors. So as low of competitors as possible, as high of searches as possible. And some of this is also going to be influenced by the category you're in, which is why I don't want to necessarily give specific parameters, because sometimes you have to widen that up and welcome in words that you may not otherwise use if you were selling in a different category, because this one happens to be still more of a developing category that doesn't have as much searches yet. Maybe it's something that's you're early with the trend, and so that you know it's coming, but it doesn't fully exist on Amazon yet. Or alternatively, on the flip side, it's hyper competitive, and so that's just the world that you're working in, and so you're going to maybe have to accept some keywords that you wouldn't otherwise. So thinking about competition through that, really wanting to find those gems of keywords that have high search volume and low competition, but this is where there's a little bonus part of this framework that is so important. And it's sometimes really easy to miss, which is that sometimes those words that look really, really good are misleading you and are going to be steering you down the wrong path. And what I mean by that is sometimes you're going to find those keywords and they're actually going to be trademarked. Maybe they're a competitor's brand name, or they have some other kind of prohibited language. So this is where you really need to have been doing your homework in researching your category, researching your competition. If you'd like, I have a whole video that goes in depth about how to do your competitive research the right way. And by having that in mind, you'll be able to quickly identify those for what they are, words that you should avoid under all circumstances, unless somehow you have a compatibility factor. So if your product works well with a competitor's product, then sometimes there are ways of phrasing things, but you really need to be making it clear that it is compatible with. You do not want to be giving the perception that you are saying that that is the brand, or using branded keywords that are not yours. That is a no-no. So always be careful. It's very easy to fall into the trap of thinking those keywords are too good to be true. Be cautious with that. So the last step is you need it to be comprehensive. So we need to make sure that we are covering all of our bases. And this is where using both Helium 10 and Data Dive become so important, because neither one helps tell the full story on its own. Well, technically, I suppose with Helium 10, you could arrive at what you can with Data Dive. However, it would take a lot more legwork to get there. And so I like using them combined, because Data Dive helps me get a lot more comprehensive information to build that core list, but then I can bring Helium-10 in to make sure that there is not one opportunity that's slipping through the cracks. And sometimes that's even more important depending upon the kind of product that it is. Sometimes they're very straightforward. And so Data Dive pretty much gets a mirrored version of what I would get with Helium-10. But more often than not, Helium-10 helps me identify those high buying intent, high relevancy keywords that Data Dive misses. And one reason for that is because the way that Data Dive is doing the keyword research, it's running a reverse ASIN search. In other words, and you can do this with Cerebro on Helium-10 as well, but through that, you are giving either tool links to or the ASIN to your competitor listings who you are identifying as your top competitors. And so it is creating a list, or both of those are creating a list based off of your competitors. But what happens if your competitors either do not have a fully comprehensive strategy, or you have some iterations that are not the same as your competitors? This can relate to anything from who it's intended for, to ingredients, to the material that it's made of. It can be so many different things. Almost every single time I go to review a Data Dive search, I recognize that there are still gaps that I want to make sure to fill. And also, one of the other things that Helium-10 allows you to do, if you have a more advanced level plan, is you can also look at historical data. And this becomes incredibly valuable if you have any degree of seasonality to your products, be it something that has like more of a summer winter type of dichotomy, or perhaps it's something that you're able to jump on the different gifting holidays, whatever it may be. You want to make sure that you have an opportunity to see some of that seasonal data as you are preparing your listings for the different times of year. Because as we know, a listing on Amazon should not, well, I say as we know, but you might not know. So your listing really should be a dynamic piece of marketing that is constantly changing in relationship to trends, in relationship to seasons, in relationship to changes within your category. You want to make sure that you have your finger on the pulse of what's happening and what's coming down the pipeline. And that is also going to be reflected in your keyword research. So Helium-10 gives you that access to those historical trends. Now, of course, is it foolproof? No, every year looks a little bit different, but it can at least give you some insights into what happened last year so that you can go about trying to be intentional in predicting where you might want to put some of your focus and energy for this year. So you want to be comprehensive in thinking about all of those different details related to your product itself, the use of your product, who is using it, and really making sure that you haven't left any stones unturned. So just to recap, you want highly relevant, high buying intent, low competition, and super duper comprehensive. And when you've done all of those things really, really well, and you have a great list of keywords that you're ready to implement and add into your listing, and you're eager to start racking up those sales, after you've done all of those things, now it's time to take that list of high opportunity keywords and create a high performing Amazon listing to make sure that you are converting to your maximum potential. And lucky for you, I have my $1 million Amazon listing formula video that I highly suggest you go ahead and click on right now and join me over there. And in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Bye.